How do you feel about urgency, about pressure, about deadlines? Might be interesting to find out that you're not alone and that there isn't just one way to look at it. I'm Christine Saxon. I'm an executive leadership coach. I bring you these videos about paddling your own boat, right? Paddling forward with whatever serves you, actually, with more personal agency, with more clarity, paddling forward in ways that serve you, so that in this life that we're in, you can paddle more effectively. You can find your way. You can forge your path forward. And that path might be with urgency. It might be with deadline pressure. It might be with goals, intentional goal setting. And it might not. I have the distinct, in my mind, I don't know if it's distinct, it's such a pleasure to build trusting relationships with the people that I coach, who come from all walks of lives, from all different levels and times in their career, from students to managers to CEOs. And I notice trends, I notice themes, and urgency comes up for people, and deadlines. Some realize I need deadlines to be organized. Some say I can't do deadlines, I need to go with my own flow. It's fascinating, and yet there also is some dialogue going on, some conversations going on, and you can look this up if you haven't read about it recently, about a false sense of urgency and a culture of heroics. So some organizations have this sense like everything is on fire, everything is a priority, stop what you're doing, this just came up. And that false urgency, that culture of pressure and urgency and even panic, self-imposed panic, is not a fit for everyone. And it is a fit for others. And if these people are in leadership roles and they're setting the stage, if they are, they may actually be one of us who has neurodivergence and needs that hit, that shot every day, that what's new, what's hot, what's trending, what do we need to fix. When that culture becomes pervasive, we are known to call it a culture of false urgency, because you can't rank and prioritize in a culture like that. And that false urgency can lead sometimes to a culture of heroics, where it feels like everyone is running around going, well, I did the thing last night. Well, I'm caught up. Well, I worked hard all night on that. And that culture of heroics is, oh, I bent over backwards. Oh, I did everything. I cleared my desk when the manager said we needed to drop everything. It gets in the way of some solemn thinking, of some pausing to check our reaction and say, what's best right now? To use systems thinking, to look at what is actually not the best knee-jerk reaction, but the one that's going to serve us most strategically. The reason I bring these two things together is because they've been floating around in my mind as I coach people who are working towards launching their own businesses. I'm coaching some people privately who are looking to shift in their career, go into consulting if they're close to kind of pre-retirement time, going, where do I want to spend my time? And they're looking at, how do I do this? How do I get myself organized? How do I self-motivate when there isn't a time frame for me? Because self-employment, trust me, as someone who's self-employed, it's a whole different ball game. Everything can feel urgent, or everything can become last minute if you choose to come out to beautiful places like this, like I do. That's why I talk about rewards. Making your pleasure your reward when you're self-employed is really important, so that you get things done. For some of us, the idea of becoming an entrepreneur, becoming more self-led, maybe becoming a CEO. I have one talk where I talk about it's lonely at the top, because CEOs have to be quite self-led as well. It's an important one to look at and to understand individual difference. So think about this for yourself. Are you someone who once a month checks your strategic plan, looks at your vision map, lays out your goals, and follows them in a linear way, because that serves you and always has? Or are you someone who puts a frame around things and goes, broadly speaking, this is what the outcome needs to be, so I'm good for now, and 2 days before that event or that thing that I need to do or that report I need to hand in, I know what it's going to look like and I'll be fine? Or are you someone who bases it on your energy, and because everything has a sense of urgency, do you just go with your energy and say, I feel like I'm going to be most productive doing this data entry right now, And so I'm going to do that and get that out of the way. Or I feel like I can really focus right now, so I'm going to do some of that research. Do you have that freedom? And then you're able to rank according to that. We are all different. And yet, when a corporation has a culture of false urgency and a culture of heroics where we try to outdo, how much we bent over backwards and dropped everything, and it gets in the way of harnessing the value of diverse ways of thinking, harnessing the value of the early starters who build that frame, and the last minute people who are like, I'm good, I got it, I thrive on energy. Do you know yourself well enough, and do you know the people you work with well enough to paddle more effectively together? I hope that you are thinking about this, noodling it a bit, and are curious now to watch, to notice in yourself and notice in others. What does urgency look like? And really, what these days is urgent? Hard to tell sometimes. We're inundated with breaking news and, over-exaggerated weather reports that end up to be what we used to just call a rainstorm. So we also have a language of urgency that is pervasive. How do you want to paddle intentionally through life? How do you want to paddle so that you are the one that's holding the paddle, that's figuring out which stroke is needed depending on what direction you're going in? Happy paddling.